is a great way to spend a Saturday. I'm learning so much from all of you. But a thought that kind of came to my mind is that Rudresh, you kind of took us there in like kind of a Russian doll manner, like one thing after the other, inside the other, inside the other. And I felt that when you were talking about mathematics and essentially kind of boiling it down to philosophy as well. Another thing that I felt, which I think like Rushikesh also kind of pointed out as to how psychology has been adapted, especially according to the modern needs. But I feel that somehow religion and faith has also a lot to do with all of these fields, and I feel like right now a lot of the modern ailments or something like basically what I'm kind of trying to get at is that there was a sense of meaning which existed before
Right.
our generation, and I feel like that's something that used to be really taken by the role of religion, and now there isn't really that kind of a safety net sort of to fall back on. So just wanted to kind of throw in there as to what you feel like, how that has influenced our modern needs, and I mean these fields kind of also coming up.
Yeah, I mean, this is maybe not answering the exact question she's asked, but something that came to my mind. I can't remember which book it was or which source it was. I remember somebody saying that all that thing that we now associate with religion, or ideally that religion is supposed to stand for, be it love, be it compassion, all the virtues that we associate, right? The question that the author asks is, are we absolutely sure that religion is the one that brought these things into the world? Did these things exist much before religion as a virtue in themselves among the societies, pre-religious times? And then religion sort of appropriated them and codified them and presented stories, fables, allegories to make them, to sort of popularize them. And now what we've happened is we've started associating these virtues with a certain region. Okay, to become compassionate, you have to read. To become courageous, you have to read Bhagavad Gita. So on and so forth. So somewhere I felt, I don't know if I answer this question. It's just a perspective. Somewhere I'm feeling that we've lost the way somewhere, and we lost the purpose of being in a religion, and lost what it stands for, rather than just going by the text and then being blind followers to the characters of the story or the characters of the book. This is my 2 cents. Yeah, please go ahead.
No, I think you have a very interesting point because our friend Emile Durkheim, who gave us the theory of suicide, this French sociologist, actually studied religion, and he studied religion as it is practiced in aboriginal communities. So he studied totemism. A totem is just like an object which is considered sacred, and he defined the ideas of what is sacred and what is profane. So whatever is negative or has negative connotations in a primitive society is considered profane. But like a ritual or a symbol or a wooden sculpture is considered sacred. And he observed that when there is worship of that, there is this collective effervescence and or this connection between the community that emerges because they gather together. And a lot of these Abrahamic religions, you see that gathering together as a community becomes very important. Whether it's a funeral or whether it's a marriage or whether within your parish, for instance, you have Sunday school and so on. So the sense of community is so high. So people look out for each other. And somewhere when those ties, social ties, are broken, which were reinforced by religion, which becomes sort of a proxy for the connection that is formed between communities. I think that's where the loneliness, the mental ailments, or even this lack of support emerges, and that's where these modern day ailments may be coming through. I'm not saying that religion's role is only for that, but that may be the safety net that Simrat mentioned earlier. Maybe Simrat can clarify. But I think religion and faith, in the communal sort of way or having that meaning, helps.
Yeah.
Um, uh,
Yeah. I think, yeah, I mean, I just wanted to kind of jump in there because I felt that that was really, really well put. I think the ailment of loneliness, as you described. I think definitely one of the most crucial aspects of religion was the community aspect of having somebody to rely on, constantly feeling that support, which in today's day and age, like we live in apartments and they're high rises, but there is so much distance, even though we're just 2 steps away from our neighbor. And I think that isolation is it's a pandemic at this point. Of course, corona was the pandemic that all of us was like staring at us in the face, but this is the silent pandemic that is going on. And again, where I think it's a really interesting way of putting it, that faith is not only for the community, but the community is what strengthens that faith a lot. And in the absence of that, it becomes very difficult to replace it in a more systematic manner, which is what any religion, but I think especially Abrahamic religions really mastered it in the form of the church, or like the mosque, or what do the Jews have? I forgot, but yeah. In any case, like
Synagogue, sir.
there's that collectivism. Sorry,
The synagogue.
the synagogue. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. So I think it's an interesting point. But I think Parth, you were also saying something. I may have cut you off.
So I think very interesting sociological thread. I think Rushi started Durkheim. So let me take that thread forward, okay, from logically from Durkheim. So there was a mention of ties, right, familial ties, and then how modernity influenced them. So a lot of scholarship, especially Marx, people who have been studying from a Marxist perspective, they have this notion that when capitalism, so essentially the birth of industrial revolution, led to a very precipitous decline in these ties. So what happened was, for the success of capitalism, you needed to leave your village, you needed to leave your traditional family structure, and then go and live in the city, which is coincidentally, which is when London also took off as a city center. So breakage of those links was precipitated by the rise of modern capitalism. And then now, so let me give you an example of South Korea. Okay, traditionally a very poor society, historically a very religious society also. So South Koreans, and in fact the entire China, Japan, Korea, that entire trilogy followed, initially they followed Confucianism. So it's not a religion per se, it's a way of life. The philosophy is called legalism, strict belief in hierarchy, status, and things like that. Then Buddhism had a wave there. Then they have Japanese, especially, had Shinto religion. Now, if you go and ask South Korea, most of them are either Christians, but even a bigger majority is what they call a-religious. And South Korea is a classical case of people living alone in depression. Suicide rates are exceptionally high in South Korea. In fact, the highest among all OECD countries, so industrialized developed countries. And what Rushi said, integration. So South Korea has a weird mix of very high integration into societal practices, but very low integration in terms of people. So even parents and children stop living there, not like the western part of after 18. They live till 18, but as they grow old, they stop living there. So I think the thread I want to continue on is how this. I'm not a Marxist per se, so that would be hypocritical. But I think there is some role that capitalism has played in the downfall of this community sort of setup, and then religion by extension.